Okay, this is the Schaeffer Cox, Lonnie Vernon, Coleman Barney trial, day 25. This could be the last day. This particular file is not posted on the Free Schaeffer Cox website, so I don't know what we're going to read here, but it may be the actual verdict when the verdict comes back from the jury. I'm not sure. All right, here we go. Anchorage, Alaska, Monday, June the 18th, 2012. It's day 25, I believe. Call to order of the court at 2:31 p.m. Defendants present, jury not present. The clerk, all rise. His dishonorable the court, the United States Dishonorable District Court for the District of Alaska is now in session. The Dishonorable Robert J. Bryan presiding. The Dishonorable Court. Please be seated. All well, we've got a note that says the jury has become deadlocked on one charge. I don't know if that means they have reached a verdict on other charges, on all other charges or not. And it appears to me that I should inquire of them as to whether there's a reasonable chance that they could reach a verdict within a reasonable time on all the charges. And I probably should also ask them if they have reached a verdict on the other charges at this point, so we have a basis to determine what our best approach is. I'm not a fan of dynamite charges, but after we talk to the jury, we can discuss that as well, depending on their responses to the questions that I'll ask them. Okay? Daughter of Belial, Jezebel herself, Miss Lamoureux, corrupt United States Attorney. Your Honor, the government's preference would be to advise them of an Allen charge as set forth in the Pattern Instruction 7.7 before inquiring of them at all. We definitely don't want to inquire them as to numbers, where they would stand, or ask them any questions along those lines. And the concern is that if the parties decided that if an Allen charge was appropriate after you inquired of them, then it may have more of a coercive effect than if we just simply instructed them. The Dishonorable Court. Well, I'm not inclined, Miss Jezebel Lamoureux, at this point, the Dishonorable Court, to give them an Allen charge at all. I think it's a bad practice in my judgment. And as the committee indicated, the committee recommends caution whether to give a supplemental instruction. I guess you can usually tell from inquiry whether they should negotiate further or not, whether they should, so I'm not inclined to do that at this point. Okay, bring the jury in. We don't have the clerk. Nobody over there? The court. Bailiff over there. Pause. The reason we have adopted in the Pattern Jury Instruction Committee 7.1 and the language that it's in was to cover the information in an Allen charge and all the instructions without putting any pressure on them. Jury present at 2:35. The court. Okay, folks, we have your note that indicates you have become deadlocked on one charge. Before I ask you any questions, I want to caution you that you should not tell anyone, including me, how the jury stands on any vote, numerically or otherwise. And I would ask that you simply answer the questions that I will ask without saying anything. Without saying anything further. My first question is, who is the foreperson of the jury? Okay, states name of juror number 6. My question is to you. In your opinion, is the jury unable to agree on a verdict as to one or more counts? The foreperson, yes. The court. And if any of you disagree with states juror number 6, please tell me now. Are all of you in agreement with her answer? Is there states name of juror number 6? Is there a reasonable probability that the jury can reach a unanimous verdict on all charges if you deliberate further? The foreperson, no. The court. And again, if any of you disagree with state's name of juror number 6's answer, please tell me now. And this note indicated a deadlock on one charge. Is it the only one charge that you're unable to agree on? The foreperson, yes. The court. All right. Let me ask you to return to your jury room and continue your deliberation while we discuss your answers. Thank you. Jury not present at 2:38 p.m. The court. Let me hear from the government first. Jezebel Lamro. The government would request at this time that the court take a partial verdict from the jury. The dishonorable court. Mr. Traverso, let me consult with Mr. Cox. The clerk. Microphone, please. Mr. Traverso. You might want to inquire of other. The court. I'm sorry, Mr. Traverso. Perhaps you might want to inquire of other counsel while Mr. Cox deliberates on this. Mr. Dooley. Your Honor, I'd prefer that they reach a verdict, but I guess everybody else does, and I'll take a partial verdict. Miss Hayden. We'll take a partial verdict, Your Honor. Mr. Traverso. It's Mr. Cox's preference that the jury continue to deliberate. The court. I'm sorry, louder, please. Mr. Traverso. It's Mr. Cox's preference that the jury continue to deliberate. The court. Well, it's perhaps an art form to know when a jury is deadlocked. The jury has been out for, let's see, basically 2 full days and a little more. I have commented to people that this jury has been one of the most engaged in a complex trial that I have seen. They appear to have taken their job seriously and worked very hard during the trial. And as early questions from them indicated during deliberations, they worked very hard to understand the instructions and the evidence. They appeared to me, in the answers given in our just short court appearance, to be pretty firm in their conclusion that further deliberations would not be productive. And they apparently have only one charge that they have not agreed on. I have indicated privately to staff that it would not surprise me if they were hung on some counts, and it appears that that is the case, so I guess that doesn't come as a big surprise to me in light of the events of the trial. I think the best practice at this point, based on those considerations and what I observed as to the jury was responding to my questions, is to accept the verdicts that they have reached and declare a mistrial on whatever it is they can't agree on. And that's my judgment. And so I would ask Denali to ask the jury to complete the verdict form insofar as they are able and let us know when they're ready to return to court, all right? And we'll be at recess, and they'll tell us they're ready. The clerk. All rise. This matter stands in recess. The clerk. All rise. His Honor, the dishonorable court, this United States dishonorable court is again in session. The court, the dishonorable court, please be seated. I was going to say one other thing in regard to the decision to take what verdicts they have, and that is, it's in my view very hard on jurors at this stage of the game to be told that they haven't done their work and that they should do more. Bring in the jury, please. I would ask the audience too, there's a lot of work we have yet to do in taking the verdict, and I would appreciate it if you would not make any outbursts or agreements or disagreements with the verdict. Jury present at 3:06 p.m. The court. All right. State's name of juror number 6. I gather you have reached a verdict on all except for one charge or count. Is that correct? The foreperson. Yes, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. And you have filled in the verdict form to reflect the findings of the jury? The foreperson. Yes, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. Will you hand the verdict form to the bailiff, please? Pause. All right. There are 21 different verdicts here, and I would like to ask that you listen carefully. And ladies and gentlemen, at the conclusion of reading the verdict, I will be polling the jury and ask each of you in turn if these are your verdicts, your individual verdicts, and if they are the verdicts of the jury. Paragraph 1. Okay, man, this is going to get tough, ain't it? This is crazy. What a day this must have been. Paragraph 1. We, the jury, find the defendant, Francis Schaeffer Cox, guilty of conspiracy to possess unregistered silencers and or destructive devices as charged in count 1 of the indictment. 2. We, the jury, find the defendant, Coleman L. Barney, guilty of conspiracy to possess unregistered silencers and or destructive devices as charged in count 1 of the indictment. 3. We, the jury, find the defendant, Lonnie G. Vernon, guilty of conspiracy to possess unregistered silencers and or destructive devices as charged in count 1 of the indictment. 4. We, the jury, find the defendant, Francis Schaeffer Cox, guilty of possession of unregistered destructive devices, that is, a combination of parts either designed or intended for use in converting any device into a destructive device, and from which a destructive device may be readily assembled, specifically for hand grenades, as charged in count 2 of the indictment. 5. We, the jury, find the defendant, Coleman L. Barney, not guilty of possession of unregistered destructive devices, that is, a combination of parts either designed or intended for use in converting any device into a destructive device, and from which a destructive device may be readily assembled specifically for hand grenades, as charged in count 2 of the indictment. 6. We, the jury, find the defendant, Francis Schaeffer Cox, guilty of possession of an unregistered silencer as charged in count 3 of the indictment. 7. We, the jury, find the defendant, Francis Schaeffer Cox, guilty of possession of an unregistered machine gun as charged in count 4 of the indictment. 8. We, the jury, find the defendant, Francis Schaeffer Cox, guilty of illegal possession of a machine gun as charged in count 5 of the indictment. 9. We, the jury, find the defendant, Francis Schaeffer Cox, guilty of making a silencer as charged in count 6 of the indictment. 10. We, the jury, find the defendant, Francis Schaeffer Cox, not guilty of carrying a firearm, that is, a semi-automatic pistol, during and in relation to a crime of violence, that is, the conspiracy charged in count 1 as charged in count 7 of the indictment. 11. We, the jury, find the defendant, Coleman L. Barney, not guilty of carrying a firearm, that is, one or more semi-automatic pistols, during and in relation to a crime of violence, that is, the conspiracy charged in count 1 as charged in count 8 of the indictment. 12. We, the jury, find the defendant, Coleman L. Barney, guilty of possession of unregistered destructive devices, that is, a 37mm launcher loaded with a hornet's nest anti-personnel round, as charged in count 9 of the indictment. 13. We, the jury, find the defendant, Francis Schaeffer Cox, guilty of possession of an unregistered destructive device, that is, a hornet's nest anti-personnel round and associated 37mm launcher, as charged in count 10 of the indictment. 14. We, the jury, find the defendant, Coleman L. Barney, not guilty of possession of an unregistered destructive device, that is, 4 hornet's nest anti-personnel rounds and 2 associated 37mm launchers, as charged in count 11 of the indictment. 15. We, the jury, find the defendant, Francis Schaeffer Cox, guilty of conspiracy to murder officers and employees of the United States, as charged in count 12 of the indictment. Do you feel that Scrocky and Lamoureux are feeling pretty happy right about now? Oh, man. Number 16 is left blank, which is the charge against Mr. Barney of conspiracy to murder officers and employees of the United States, as charged in count 12. 17. We, the jury, find the defendant, Lonnie G. Vernon, guilty of conspiracy to murder officers and employees of the United States, as charged in count 12 of the indictment. 18. We, the jury, find the defendant, Coleman L. Barney, not guilty of carrying a firearm, that is, a semi-automatic assault rifle, during the relation to a crime of violence, that is, the conspiracy charged in count 12, as charged in count 13 of the indictment. 19. We, the jury, find the defendant, Lonnie G. Vernon, not guilty of carrying a firearm, that is, a semi-automatic assault rifle, during and in relation to a crime of violence, that is, the conspiracy charged in count 12, as charged in count 14 of the indictment. 20. We, the jury, find the defendant, Francis Schaeffer Cox, not guilty of carrying a firearm, that is, a handgun, during and in relation to a crime of violence, that is, the conspiracy charged in count 12, as charged in count 15 of the indictment. 21. We, the jury, find the defendant, Francis Schaeffer Cox, guilty of solicitation of others, that is, the defendants, Barney and Vernon and others, to engage in the murder of an officer of the United States, as charged in count 16 of the indictment. It's dated this date and signed, states name of juror number 6 as presiding juror. Now I'm going to poll the jury and ask each of you in turn if these are all of your verdicts, and if they are the verdicts of the jury. The clerk, use a microphone please. The dishonorable deaf and dumb judge. Pardon me? The clerk, I'm having them use the microphone. It's going to start with juror number 1 probably. The dishonorable court. Okay, state's name, are these your verdicts? Juror number 1. Yes, Your Honor, they are. The dishonorable court. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Juror number 1. Yes, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. And are they the verdicts of the jury? Juror number 1. Yes, they are. The dishonorable court. State's name. Are these your verdicts? Juror number 2. Yes, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. Are they the verdicts of the jury? Juror number 2. Yes, sir. The dishonorable court. State's name. Are these your verdicts? Juror number 3. Yes, sir. The dishonorable court. Are they the verdicts of the jury? Juror number 3. Yes, sir. The dishonorable court. State's name. Are these your verdicts? Juror number 4. Yes, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. Are they the verdicts of the jury? Juror number 4. Yes, they are, sir. The dishonorable court and state's name. Are these your verdicts? Juror number 5. Yes, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. Are they the verdicts of the jury? Juror number 5. Yes. The dishonorable court. State's name. Are these your verdicts? Juror number 6. Yes, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. Are they the verdicts of the jury? Juror number 6. Yes, sir. The dishonorable court. State's name. Are these your verdicts? Juror number 7. Yes, they are, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. Are they the verdicts of the jury? Juror number 7. Yes, they are. The dishonorable court. If you'll pass that back to state's name, please, and state's name. Are these your verdicts? Juror number 8. Yes, they are, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. Are they the verdicts of the jury? Juror number 8. Yes, they are. The dishonorable court. State's name. Are these your verdicts? Juror number 9. Yes, they are, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. Are they the verdicts of the jury? Juror number 9. Yes. The dishonorable court. State's name. Are these your verdicts? Juror number 10. Yes, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. Are they the verdicts of the jury? Juror number 10. Yes, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. State's name. Are these your verdicts? Juror number 11. Yes, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. Are they the verdicts of the jury? Yes, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. State's name. Are these your verdicts? Juror number 12. Yes, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. Are they the verdicts of the jury? Juror number 12. Yes. The dishonorable court. All right. It appears that the verdicts are unanimous and the verdict form will be filed. Defendant Cox. The prosecutors withheld evidence from you guys. Oh man, it's hard to read that. A man's life just got destroyed. An evil miscarriage of justice was done by evil reprobates in that courtroom. So Cox yells out after the verdict, the prosecutors withheld evidence from you guys. The dishonorable court. You, Mr. Cox, please. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the next stage in this is that I must set a date for sentencing of the defendants and also order a pre-sentence report for each defendant to be submitted to the court that will advise the court about the background of the defendants and how the sentencing guidelines apply, and will make recommendations to the court. And that takes about 90 days. And I will set sentencing on September the 14th unless somebody tells me that's an impossible day. I'll probably be up here anyway on other matters about that time. So is that agreeable to everybody? September the 14th, that of course can be changed should it be necessary for one or more defendants. The evil Jezebel, Miss Lamro, that's fine for the government, Your Honor. The dishonorable court. Any objection to that? Miss Hayden. Your Honor, we'll probably file something with the court regarding that date. The dishonorable court. Well, I'm going to set that date and order pre-sentence reports at this time for each defendant, and that gives ample time for any post-trial matters that may be appropriate. And if you're interested in the sentencing process, folks, you can inquire of the clerk's office if you wish to attend sentencing, to be sure that will in fact be held on that day. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of things you need to know about. First, there have been a lot of publicity about this case and a lot of public interest, as the number of spectators in the court might indicate. You are now free of your obligation not to discuss this case with other people, but Miss Jezebel, evil reprobate Lamoureux, Your Honor, the dishonorable deaf and dumb court, you're not required to. The evil reprobate Jezebel Lamoureux, the evil daughter of Belial herself. I apologize for interrupting. Before we discharged the jury, there were 7 forfeiture allegations in the indictment. I didn't know if the court wanted to inquire. The dishonorable deaf and dumb court, we dealt with those, it is my understanding, as to be not jury issues. The evil reprobate daughter of evil herself, Miss Lamoureux. Okay, the dishonorable deaf and dumb court. And anyway, there is interest in this case. You're free to discuss the case with anyone that wants to talk to you about it, but you don't have to. And if anyone approaches you and wants to talk to you about the case, if you're willing, you're free to do that. If you choose not to, you can just tell them, I choose not to discuss it, and move on. And they should not press inquiry. But members of the press may be interested in talking with you, and also counsel may be interested in talking with you about the case. And you're free to do that if you choose to. Now, you know, folks, I've been at this a long time, you know, and I commented to counsel while we were taking care of your earlier response that I do not recall a jury ever in a complicated case like this being as engaged and involved in paying attention and making notes and trying to understand everything in the evidence as it came in. And I just generally the highest regard for American juries. And I want you to know that I think you've just done your duty as you see it, and have done it well, as one could hope, in coming to conclusions on the issues presented to you. Jury service is one of the highest forms of citizenship duties that we can ask of citizens, and you have served your country well by doing this job over the last many weeks. So I personally thank you, and I know all the lawyers join me in expressing their thanks to you. And that's about all I've got for you, except to send you home with our thanks. You may be excused. Jury not present at 3:21 p.m. The dishonorable deaf and dumb court. As to those forfeiture allegations or whatever, I understood when we started the case that you had resolved that as to not be a jury issue, and we bypassed it through the trial. I don't know what has to be done in that regard now. I don't know if you've agreed on everything or that should be done by motion or what. The evil reprobate daughter of Belial, evil wicked woman, Miss Lamoureux. Well, we'll work with the defense counsel and we'll submit something in writing after we've conferred with the defense counsel, Your Honor. The evil deaf and dumb court. Okay, that's fine. The defendants are reprimanded to custody subject to further order. Should there be any request in that regard, we'll deal with it. And thank you, the clerk, judge, the dishonorable court, all, the clerk, Denali over there, what time are we setting those sentencings for on the 14th? The dishonorable court, 9:30. The clerk, for all three, the dishonorable court, yeah, the clerk. Okay, thank you, the dishonorable court, at this time at least, the clerk. Okay, all rise, this matter is now adjourned. This court is adjourned, subject to call, proceedings concluded at 3:22 p.m. This was a horrific day in America where a precedent was set that a patriot and a leader of liberty and a young man who would have been a bright and shining star in American politics was illegally convicted and found guilty on charges that absolutely absurd. And the people that participated in this, justice will absolutely come on them from an almighty and just God, that they will not be able to hide from the justice, that everything they thought was done in the dark and everything they thought they got away with by all the shenanigans and trickery and withholding exculpatory evidence, bringing a judge out of retirement, biasing and withholding and slanting evidence, all of that is going to be exposed. And every single one of you, Miss Lamoureux, Stephen Scrocky, Judge Robert J. Bryan, Joseph W. Bottini, Karen Loeffler, Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, Obama himself, all of you guys, justice is coming from God Almighty. God Almighty knows what you did. He knows that what you tried to do to Schaeffer Cox and Lonnie Vernon and Coleman Barney, and he ain't going to let it go. I guarantee you, justice is coming.